All right, welcome to Tulsiology. I'm Dave, your resident Tulsiologist. Taking Tulsiology 101 at this stage, trying to kind of elevate the conversation. Rebranded the channel yet again. It's full steam ahead. It doesn't mean we won't talk about other things on this channel. I will have special guests. I'm planning on having a diehard, hardcore Tulsi Gabbard supporter by the name of Dennis, who has his own channel. So you want to look for that video. I believe this Saturday is when we'll be doing Skype, so you can look forward to that. Dennis has been a faithful Tulsi supporter where I cheated and left, and still kind of don't know who I'm going to vote for in the general election, if I'm even going to vote. But I can tell you that I wish I could vote for Tulsi Gabbard. So why is there still so much interest in Tulsi Gabbard? I told one of my friends on Twitter that I felt like I was being drafted into this job. Like when somebody, puts up a petition, please do a Tulsi Gabbard channel. I had so many people saying, hey, what happened? And I obviously went through the 4 stages of grief. I've gotten over the grief. Tulsi has been tweeting up a storm lately. Not too many tweets, but mostly the substance is what's getting me back into the game, and understanding that the Trump-Biden paradigm, at the end of it, civil unrest, and people will be saying one side cheated, the other side cheated. I don't know. There's no good outcome of that. And maybe starting a Tulsi channel in a way is kind of cathartic, because I go back and I watch these town hall videos that Tulsi Gabbard did. And I'm sure there aren't a lot of people that are, going back in time, checking out all these great videos, but you should, because I'll tell you what, you'll hear somebody who's got real empathy, somebody who's listening even to people who ramble too much, or people who are off point, or maybe even disagreeable people. At one of her town hall meetings, there was actually some guy who seemed like they were a plant in the audience who were trying to harass Tulsi Gabbard, and she swatted it right back, which means to me, if you got her on a stage against Donald Trump, it'd be scary. It'd be scary, because you have one person. See, the Democrats put someone against Trump who is way more deficient in the English language than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a smooth talker, but he's a big talker. All right. And there is a difference. You can be a smooth talker and, not say all that much, like Mayor Pete, for instance. All right. But you can be a big talker, and even though you're not putting together eloquent prose, you're still making your point really well, and that's what Donald Trump is all about. Tulsi Gabbard can brawl if she needs to brawl. She can also be eloquent when she needs to be eloquent, and she tends to be somewhat in between those things. She tends to be a very sincere, real character. And again, I don't agree with Tulsi Gabbard on every issue, and I've really wrestled with that over the last few months. My trip into the libertarian world, where I'm thinking, okay, it's full steam ahead. The country doesn't seem all that interested. Maybe, if I said, okay, I'm going to go in the trenches and be a libertarian, I told my friend Reed, maybe this is something I ought to do. But then looking at it, there's a hard road there, and it's decades in the making. I'm not a young man, all right? If I was 20-something, maybe. I think what you need to do right now, it's kind of looking at it this way. You've got a boat that doesn't have a captain, and it's a runaway boat. That's America, all right? And right now you have to have someone jump in that boat to rescue it. You're not going to be, to bring the boat back into the dock and change what happened, how it got to where it's at right now, it's wishful thinking. So what you have to do is get a handle on the boat And you need a captain who can drive that boat, slow it down, and bring it back into port. And then you need to work on, the boat's engine and how the boat runs and all that stuff before, you can take the boat out again. That's the best analogy I can, or a runaway train or whatever, however you want to look at it, before the train crashes into the rocks. I mean, we're pretty close. I mean, we're kind of there. We really are kind of there. I mean, it's a Trump or Biden is going to continue to manage over chaos, pumping money into a system, not reining in the war machine, not taking care of infrastructure, not improving healthcare. I mean, now we're talking about Obamacare again. All right. It's amazing that Biden has brought this back in, whereas Tulsi Gabbard wanted to do kind of like a Medicare for All Plus program. Yes, there's still private insurance. Thank you, Tulsi Gabbard. Yes, you're going to get coverage if you don't have coverage. Yes, you'll have coverage for pre-existing conditions, but it won't necessarily be geared so insurance companies can charge the exact amount of the subsidy that they're getting, because that's exactly what's happening right now, which is elevated costs. And the government, and that's wasted money, because rather than negotiate prices down, what Obamacare does is it negotiates prices up. All right. And Trump, his strength is he's going to negotiate prices down. But it's an argument that's fought in these old trenches where Granny gets, kicked over the side of the mountain. That's what the Biden people will say is, Trump wants to push Granny in the wheelchair off the cliff. He's doing the same thing with COVID. That's the argument is, even though there are very seedy characters like Cuomo, who did a lot of that and apparently isn't going to have to be held accountable for that. See, the reason I will continue to talk about Tulsi Gabbard in the midst of this, even if she's not necessarily in the news cycle, is because we need to start a movement. All right? There are pockets of this movement. Twitter, there's a movement. I'm sure there are Facebook groups. I'm sure people are still talking about what would Tulsi do. Now, again, I'm not a cultist. I'm not comparing her to Jesus, okay, just so you know. But Tulsi would handle things differently. She would have she's currently legislating, other than the Trace Act, which I really can't stand. She is legislating like she's supposed to. She's working with colleagues and some who don't share the same party affiliation. And this is the kind of stuff that, I want to see. As much as Marianne Williamson thinks that, just removing Trump is going to somehow make this, Candyland, it ain't going to happen, Marianne Williamson. You're saying, oh, I'd rather have a corruption than tyranny. You're going to have both under Biden. What are you talking about? And you're admitting that you've got a corrupt candidate. You're admitting it. So you're picking your poison. I want corruption over tyranny. Look, Trump, there are some things that Trump does. I would say if you want slightly less war, you might want to vote for Donald Trump. If you wanted true reform when it comes to regime change war, you should have supported Tulsi Gabbard. And the few of us who were peace-minded, I haven't changed, okay, when it comes to that. That's why I explored the Libertarian Party and the Greens, and then I realized this is a joke, okay? Not the candidates necessarily. I think the candidates are smart. I think Howie Hawkins is a very smart man. Same thing with Jo Jorgensen. She's a very smart woman. But the joke is on us because it doesn't, they're not registering. And you can say it's the media, they're not including them. Of course, they would not want to give you an alternative view. And this is what happened to Tulsi Gabbard. She was that outsider. People are asking me, so should Tulsi run as a Democrat again? Should she run as an independent? I would prefer her not to run as a Democrat. I would prefer that. I would even suggest that she might succeed in the Republican Party. But I don't know if she would switch parties. here's the thing. If you, right, this is what happened during, sorry, I'm talking like Joe Biden here. I'm mashing words. During the primaries, when I supported Tulsi Gabbard and I had to donate through something called Act Blue because I use PayPal. A lot of times it was donations to me via this channel that went right to Tulsi Gabbard. Full disclosure. I don't have a lot of money, but I wanted to support Tulsi. So I would channel that money through PayPal to Act Blue. Act Blue is basically a neoliberal collection service, and then they'll harass you. They harassed me after Tulsi dropped out, and they basically said, hey, you're gonna support Joe Biden now, right? I'm like, no. The point is that the infrastructure within these parties allows a candidate like Tulsi Gabbard to get money via me and you through PayPal. I don't love PayPal, but it's a way to get money to people on eBay and your favorite presidential candidate, apparently, at least through something like Act Blue. Now, I'm not thrilled with where that money goes at the end of it all. These candidates, they have to spend this money or the DNC goes in there and takes it. You ran as a Democrat, took a pledge. The fine print says the money comes back to us at the end of this, and we, will give that money to our, the front runner, the nominee. So the infrastructure of these parties is bad, but I would say the Democrats' infrastructure is worse than the Republican infrastructure. And by the way, the Republican Party right now they've got a big identity crisis, same as the Democrats. The Republicans don't know what to do because many of them don't like Trump, but they're trying to latch on to Trump and ride on his coattails. But many of them don't believe the same things as Donald Trump. Like, for instance, our trade deficit with other countries. By the way, libertarians, most of them aren't on board with things like tariffs and things like that. I don't know. Again, it's the runaway boat or train analogy at this stage. In order to get everything under control, you have to put people back to work. That means you have to have jobs in this country to send those people to. Tulsi Gabbard, I think, would use her more populist instincts here and follow along those same guidelines. We shouldn't be taken advantage of by any country. We can be self-sufficient. We can be creative. We don't need China to make cheap goods and services, especially if we're importing people from the third world and they're coming here and they're documented and so forth. There's a job market for those people. They won't get super high wages, but they'll get wages, whereas the people in the slave labor camps, they don't get any wages. All right. I think in the end, we've got to build a movement, and the way to do it is to talk it up and to put a template over an issue. Like if it's gun control, for instance, what issue matters to you? How would Tulsi Gabbard look at that issue, whether it's gun control, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the environment, First Amendment. Tulsi Gabbard is a huge supporter of Julian Assange. Nobody in the Democratic Party, and now pretty much other than like Rand Paul and maybe Thomas Massey, nobody in the Republican Party really cares about Julian Assange. All right, Trump maybe in 2016 did, but Jared and Ivanka have put the kibosh on that, and he doesn't even know who WikiLeaks is, or he said he didn't, which is really disappointing. That's one of the reasons I liked Trump initially, was that he seemed to get it. He seemed to understand that, you need whistleblowers out there. Whistleblowers are journalists. All right. If you find something out that nobody else knows about and it happens to be true and you tell somebody, that's journalism. It's not really hard to figure out. Publishing, journaling. So long story short here, folks, or short story long, is that the reason we still need Tulsi Gabbard is because nobody's come along who's even remotely as good as Tulsi Gabbard. And, you could say, well, Joe Jorgensen's better. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's better. I think she's a good alternative if you need to vote for somebody, you want to make a statement. I would put her first on the list. I told my friend Charles that it would be probably Jorgen. If it was ranked choice voting, it would be Jorgensen, Trump, Mark Charles, Howie Hawkins, the Constitution Party nominee, the Bull Moose Party nominee, the Toaster Oven Party nominee, and then the Biden-Harris or Harris-Biden. If I have to fill in that oval, if I have to rank them all, that ranks at the very bottom. I mean, way. I mean, I would just leave it blank, probably. I don't know if you can do that, ranked choice voting. I think you have to rank them all. So, yeah. And Tulsi Gabbard, if you could write her in, she'd be at the top. She'd be at the top. But we can't do that. I mean, if you want to do that in the 10 states that you're able to do it, I've said I won't voter shame you at this point. I'm more interested in building the future and basically drafting Tulsi Gabbard. I told somebody I was drafted into doing this. Well, here's the thing. When you're drafted, they pick you and they just tell the person, we believe you could be the president and we want you to run for president. And we show a ton of enthusiasm. Maybe we set up a presidential fund of some kind. I don't know how that all works. We'll see if Tulsi sets up some kind of fundraising website. I'll promote that every day. I'll put a link in the description of each video, and we'll go from there. By the way, I want to thank some of the new subscribers. Also, Dennis, who I'll be talking with, gave a generous PayPal donation, which I haven't seen on this channel for quite some time. I understand. Look, I told somebody else I'm filling a need. I believe I'm called and drafted into this, so I'm going to try to do the best job I can in promoting Tulsi Gabbard. But this is why, people never, I mean, there might have been, there are a lot of people that were disappointed in Tulsi, people who were close to the campaign. They left the campaign. They thought Tulsi was somebody else. Turns out maybe she was somebody else, but then again, it also turns out that no matter how you look at it, she's still someone else who's better than anybody else. You know what I mean? She may have disappointed you and me, but guess what? She's still better than everybody else because she's got a measure of integrity. You may still be disappointed and wish that she didn't sign a pledge. She probably wouldn't have been able to run. And she got a ton of name ID from running for president. So that's one of the reasons I believe she took it, seriously and tried to run as a Democrat. I want her to run as an independent or maybe to invade the Republican Party. The Democratic Party, unless they change their rules with these super delegates and all the BS, and they're a war party now. I think there are more anti-war people over in the Republican Party. You can't look at this now as just left and right. You can't do it. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, there's some cultural issues that you'll find more to the right in the Republican Party than the Democratic Party, but the left-right paradigm it's now kind of, it's slowly blurring away. I mean, you're not going to be able to see it when you've got the party of, Lincoln, which is the Republican Party, and then you get the party of like Woodrow Wilson, all right, which is the Democratic Party. And that's kind of what you've got right now, really. And I'm not lifting up Donald Trump, and I'm not saying conservatives are better than liberals. What I'm saying is that if I were to pick the two right now, I'd have to go more to the Republican Party. And I think the Republican Party would likely welcome Tulsi Gabbard in as a Republican. All right, she has not seen any love from the Democratic Party, and at least at this point, maybe they'll lay off someone's grooming her for a third party run. No, she can run in a major political party. I think it's really hard for her in the end to run as a Democrat again. So Republican or independent, that's what I think. So you can disagree. Again, I want to thank people for watching these videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell if you want notifications for new videos. And yes, always need help via PayPal or Patreon. The PayPal address is in the description of this channel. And there's a link, Patreon logo, that you can click on and become a patron, where you give like $1, $2, $5, whatever dollars per month, whatever you're able to do. I'm in this for the long haul now. Ain't stopping. Going to keep on going. And even started doing this before the election. I was planning to start this in November, but here we are in September. We got to start, and we got to start building this movement now. All right. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon.